Well, welcome everyone. Thomas Montgomery Smart Money Alliance. It is Thursday morning, July 2nd, 7:59 a.m. Central. Certainly nowhere else I'd rather be right now than right here with you, talking about some very important topics. Our primary topic today is to go through some recommended scripting and processes. And you should see that on your screen. But I will forewarn you, we're going to go through what's on the page, but then we're going to embellish on it fairly significantly and talking about some different ways that we could spin or apply this. So we'll first go through what's on the page, and then we'll talk about some best practices and get you all as engaged as you want to be in this discussion. So taking it from the top, we know that our goal is to help small businesses become more financial literate and have increased access to capital. There's no doubt about that. Now, in terms of what's in it for you, we concurrently want to work with you to do these things and also get you paid and get you paid well. I don't want to go off on a soapbox, but it's becoming increasingly apparent that there's a great financial divide in our economy. And I'm not going to speak in terms of gender or race or anything sensitive like that, but in terms of the haves and have-nots. There are people that are doing extraordinarily well, even in these difficult economic times, and there's a lot of people that aren't. Literally, the tools and the resources and the techniques we're talking about provides an individual the opportunity to do really well. So this is more than theoretical discussion. This is something that we could and should be applying that could make a dramatic difference in your economic outlook. Just a quick aside on that, we'll be closed tomorrow. The office will be closed July 3rd in celebration July 4th, since July 4th is on a weekend, so the staff will have off. However, several of us will be in writing key person policies. We have almost 100 new key person policies to try to pump out tomorrow so we can enjoy the weekend with our families. So there's just no doubt there's a pent-up demand that small businesses have for access to capital, and this evolved technique that we've created is working. So in terms of what's in it for you, of course, if we're helping small businesses with the Capital Ready Package version 2.0, as you know, you get $1,250 up front. Rainier, I don't know if Rainier's on the Zoom today. She had 2 conversions this morning. Well, maybe it was last night after we left, but we'll say within the past 24 hours. To us, it was this morning. But in the past 24 hours, she's made $2,500. There's a lot of people that don't make that in a week. She made it in the past day, so it works. And then, of course, you also earn 5% of the capital raise of each client going through the Capital Ready Package version 2.0. We know they're guaranteed a minimum of $100,000 capital raise. And with that, 5% of that, of course, is another $5,000 to you. That's not upfront, right? That's not immediate. They have to have funding first. Could be through the real estate program, could be through SBA loan or otherwise. And then also the outstanding ability to earn great commissions for writing the key person policies. Because again, what we do is we help small business owners access business funding. If you want business funding, you really need to have a loan package. And a loan package includes the business plan, the financial projections, the personal financial statement, and amongst other things, the properly designed insurance policy that will serve as a collateral assignment, which is required by the SBA and most other business loans. So a lot of the folks that come to us through our regional directors, and we're trying to find more regional directors, so there's an opening for you if you want, but most of the folks that are coming to us, not all, are insurance licensed, and to them, this is the best thing since sliced bread. You know, their order would be probably 1, 2, 3. They're saying, wow, you can help me get in front of small business owners with no cost of leads to develop the first policy sale right away, and then have the opportunity to help those small businesses with annuities, buy, sell, dependent life, and so forth. It's great. Okay, so getting into the process. We've educated previously and talked about and have disseminated the simple sales process. And that was that one-page PDF, talked about how to get free leads, how to use Upwork for appointment setting and so forth. We've talked about that. That's not the point today. But if you're not fully aware of that or you don't have that, you can email me and I'll send it to you. Okay, now getting more into the nuts and bolts here. So when we're going to reach, so we've got the free leads. There's no problem with that. So now we've got a list of business owners and their phone numbers and usually a lot of other valuable information about the business. But let's focus on, we've got their name and we've got their phone number, right? What we would recommend, unless what you're doing is setting up a telemarketing campaign, kind of a boiler room, and that's okay. And I know a couple of you are in the process of doing that. But let's ignore that. Let's say that you're just doing it the normal way. Our goal is not to sell anything over the phone. So we want to avoid telemarketing. We want to use the phone call to schedule an in-person appointment. I understand that some of you are in geographic areas right now where meeting with others isn't so simple or practical. So I respect that. So if instead what you need to do is schedule a Zoom, schedule a phone call, what have you, I respect that. But in general, what we want to do is schedule in-person meetings. And the reason is that you're going to have a higher conversion rate, of course, but the underlying reason is you're going to get to know them and they're going to get to know you. You're going to get to better understand them. They're going to better trust you. And you're going to have a better opportunity not only to help them with this immediate transaction, but also to build a book of business with them. And that's the mindset we want to have. I used to work for State Farm. I think many of you know that. And I wasn't a State Farm agent. I worked through the bank side and did financial literacy. And that's what State Farm agents, for instance, are all about. It's not about selling one policy to a client. You want to get multiple policies within that household to develop stickiness, and typically 2 to 3 policies will do that. Now in their world, they're doing P&C as well as life and health. Many of us are just on the life and health side, but it could very well be that key person policy through their business, and then 1 or more dependent life policies for spouse, significant other, children, so forth. So with all that being said, the goal is to say as little as necessary to get the appointment set. And don't construe that as negative. It's not like we're trying to hide something or hurry off the phone, but we're calling them in this scenario out of the blue. And so we just want to avoid the telemarketing. We want to have a concise message and a desired call to action, which should be to schedule an appointment with them, preferably in person if social distancing and other factors in your community allow for that. Now, the next paragraph here states, we have 2 primary offerings for small businesses. We'll call it the low option and the high option. One's not better than the other, they're just different approaches. The low option is the 4-week access to capital, as little as $99 to get started, and we build a loan package, do the capital match, and take it from there. The high option, of course, is the Capital Ready Package 2.0. That has the sizzle of the guaranteed capital raise. There is no upfront fee other than the refundable deposit. It's up to you how you want to address it. I think you want to say as little as necessary on the phone to get the appointment set. So my point is, I wouldn't go through some great comparison between the 2 options when you're on the phone. And you all know that we have this comparison sheet. We've circulated this before. You can customize it with your replicated website, but you can give them a comparison sheet here. But the point is, keep it simple. We're going to use for this scripting the assumption that you're leading with Capital Ready Package 2.0 to get the appointment set. And then when you meet with them, you can work on suitability of maybe that's not the right fit. Okay, so with that, moving forward. So now we're going to jump right into the sample script. And we've talked through this before. Sean, who's on the call, was asking for something more specifically in writing. So let's go through it. And so again, you're going to see a couple variables that you can insert in to make it most relevant to them in terms of geographic area, and then also categorization of business, which could be categorization based upon ownership or industry. Because the more relevant our initial spiel is to them, the more likely that it sounds good and they'll be willing to schedule an appointment. So let's go through the role play. Hi, my name's Thomas. I'm with a nonprofit called the Smart Money Alliance. We are administering a grant subsidized program to provide a minimum of $100,000 of capital to small businesses in Wood County, Texas. My focus is to help veteran-owned businesses, and I'd like to ask you, would you be interested to see if your business qualifies for this grant subsidized program? So pause. So again, you would put in the relevant geographic area that you're calling on, and when you're pulling the leads out of the database, of course, you can narrow it by state, by county, by city, by zip. I don't know necessarily by neighborhood, but you might know enough about the zips in your area to make reference. But if the point is, if they feel like you're just calling them and calling everyone else, it doesn't feel as good. But if there's some fine tuning of why you're reaching out to them. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm not also calling other counties in Texas, but I'm calling them because they're in Wood County. And then for your industry focus, again, it could be on minority-owned business, Hispanic, African-American, veteran, women. It could be by industry. And if you don't want that second sentence, you don't have to. But having greater refinement to your initial pitch is going to increase your appointment setting rate. So with that being said, let's assume only three things can happen. They either hang up, which can happen. They'll say yes, and then obviously the clear goal is to set the appointment with them. And if they say no, I wouldn't just walk off with my tail between my legs. I would come back with this. Well, please note that this funding model was created by SBA and SBDC advisors, SCORE mentors, business bankers, and business college professors to help overcome traditional barriers of accessing capital by identifying the right source of capital based upon your circumstances and to help you meet the underwriting criteria for approval. How about this? How about I just email you a link over to a YouTube video? You take a look at that at your convenience so you can make a more educated decision, and we can go from there. And so then, of course, you would send them a link to your replicated website. We've provided, you all should have a replicated website. If you don't, we need to just get you with Jennifer. We used to charge for that. Well, we used to offset our cost for that. Now we eat that cost. And so that's good to have them go to your website. The referenced YouTube video, it's not a bait and switch. The YouTube video that we're referencing about the Capital Ready Package 2.0 is on your website, but we want them to go to your website because then they're more likely to nose around and get more familiar, which is a good thing. So that is the standard language. We're going to talk about some ways to spin this in just a moment, but let's get through the content that's on the page. Now, what we've covered recently, and we sent out a YouTube video on what happens once the client comes aboard, the onboarding, what you do, what we do, and so forth, is outside the scope of what we're talking about this morning, but just wanted to reiterate that there's a YouTube on that. And it's also now parked on the career opportunity page of the Smart Money Alliance, the same YouTube. And then lastly, again, just doing our best we can to let you know we are still looking for more regional directors. Okay, so here's where we're at with kind of the base scripting. What I want to do is field the questions that any of you have about this, and then we're going to talk about some advanced techniques of how to spin this differently. So if you have a question, comment, or concern about what we've covered so far, go ahead and put it in the Q&A box so we can address it for everyone. And then we're going to move into some advanced strategies, some advanced topics that I think you'll really like. Okay, Sean, I see you got your hands up. Can you put in the question into the Q&A? And anyone else that has any questions about using the scripting, let's cover that now. And then we're going to get into the advanced topics of how to spin this differently. Anyone have any questions we need to cover about this? Dion says, what if they start asking for pricing and interest? So all I'm trying to do is to get an appointment with them, right? And so I need to meet with them to determine if they even qualify. So I don't want to have a lot of phone dialogue. I want to go meet with them, because when they meet me and they shake my hand, or we do the elbow bump, whatever it is you want to do, we're going to have a much higher level of trust and conversion. So our goal is not to start answering a bunch of their questions, because the more questions you answer over the phone, the less important that appointment is, and that's going to reduce your conversion. Now, yes, you can, Peggy, you can use the script online as well. And so hopefully, Dion, I'm not trying to avoid answering your question about objections that they might address, but right now we're talking about getting the appointment. But let's just go ahead and let's go along with Dion's question. So we get to this point, and we say, are you interested in learning more to see if you qualify? And Dion asked, or suggest that they ask about pricing and interest. And so some people could certainly say that. They might just stop there and say, well, does this cost anything? And you'd say, well, Dion, I'm glad you asked that. We've received significant grant funding to subsidize this. There's a couple different options based upon your goals. I mean, with the grant subsidy, it can be as little as $99 to be able to put together a loan package to get started with that process. So you'll want to give just a little bit of an answer, but go back to your guns, Dion, and say, I'd really like to schedule an appointment to see if you even qualify. Okay, so there's the answer to Dion. Sean's asking questions that I'm happy to address, but it's not relevant to this appointment setting right now. Okay, so James and Sean have other questions that aren't related to the appointment setting, so I'll come back to those. Okay, so now we've covered the basics. You don't have to use this scripting. You may have a better script that's working for you. Ideally, and it's covered in the simple sales process, which is over here. Ideally, you're going to have someone else setting these appointments for you. And we were talking about Glenn, I think it was yesterday or the day before. You know, Glenn is using this model. Glenn has a gig worker through Upwork. And I forget what Glenn's paying that person. I think it's around $5 an hour. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that's the case. So that person is setting up appointments for Glenn. And as of earlier this week, they're still averaging 5 appointments a day set up for Glenn. I mean, that's pretty darn good. Now, I'm not sure exactly how many hours a day that appointment setter is working. Let's assume they're working a full day, 8 hours. I think they're calling around 100 or 120 prospects per day. Of course, not everyone answers the phone. Not everyone agrees to an appointment. Voicemails left, bad number, so forth. But the average is 5 appointments a day. So if Glenn is paying $5 an hour for the appointment setter, which I think that was the number, then he's paying $40 a day to get 5 appointments. And so if that's not worth it to you, we talked about in this training, and you can go back and listen to this training here, how to not pay appointment setters anything up front and instead share with them on the back end. Okay, so now let's talk about some other advanced strategies, because maybe our goal is not to set an appointment with them. What else could we do? Well, we've talked about the importance of having access to capital workshops. We have the Access to Capital Overview Workshop, which is about an hour long. And ideally, you would set those up on a weekly reoccurring basis. And again, I realize in some geographic areas, this is not the right time for that. So I respect that. But in general, every Tuesday at 7 p.m., for example, same place, same day, same time. And now that's what you're doing with this call campaign, is to invite them to the Access to Capital workshop, which is typically conducted for free. There's no cost. So that is an effective spin off of this. And it also allows you to be much more efficient, because now you're in front of 10, 20, 30 people at a time instead of scheduling one after one after one. So that's one variance of this. Here's another one that I really like. I don't see many people do, but when they've done it, it's been crazy successful. And I've helped personally with a couple of them, is to set up a dinner workshop. So you go to a local restaurant, Golden Corral, Olive Garden, or a local mom and pop restaurant. Again, this only works if your geographic area is open for in-person dining. If not, make a mental note and we can do it again once your market opens up. But you invite them in for a free dinner workshop on accessing capital. So normally you would buy their food. And so you would negotiate with the manager, the owner of the restaurant, for a fixed menu. And maybe you're $10 or $15 a person for that cost to cover the gratuity, the food, the drink, maybe even a dessert. And so they would come in, you'd give them the Access to Capital overview first. They have to wait to eat until after that, and then you feed them. That has worked out crazy well. And so you might be concerned, oh man, I'm buying 20 people food, so I'm out $350. And so it may not be the right strategy for your budget, but oh my goodness, it is successful, because now you're going to get a lot more face-to-face exposure time with a lot more people by doing that than just setting one-on-one appointments. So that's another variance. Another variance is to keep in mind, if you have a key influencer involved, you want to piggyback off of that leverage that. So we've talked about chambers and churches and co-working spaces. If you're getting a leads list from them of their membership or their congregation or what have you, versus pulling off of Sales Genie, then of course you would change the script up a little bit, and that would be why you're calling them. So for example, we're a member of the Mineola Chamber, so let's spin that for a second, and I have a list of all the businesses that are members of the Mineola Chamber. So in that case, the script would change. It would say, hi, my name's Thomas, and I'm with a nonprofit called the Smart Money Alliance. We're a member of the Mineola Chamber, and I'm calling you as a Mineola Chamber member to let you know about a new grant subsidized program, and then you go on. So that makes it even more powerful if you can name drop and create additional relevance. So I'm not saying you need to go out and join chambers or join churches, but the point, or well, attend churches, but the point is you can follow the scripting as it's stated, but there's things that we can do to even better increase its effectiveness. Having a key influencer that you can name drop is one of those. To invite them to a meeting versus just a one-on-one is a benefit. To invite them to a dinner workshop is even better, because everybody eats, most everybody eats, I guess, and pretty much everybody enjoys a free meal. So the point is you can be creative. One other spin, and then we'll get to your questions, and this has been crazy good. And you're going to listen to it, and you may dismiss it, but as you think about it, by Monday, you'll come back and say, darn, that was a really good idea. What we can do is offer an incentive. Once you have that appointment with them, whether it be one-on-one or getting them to the group, to close them, you might want to offer some incentive. Now, an incentive could be a little bit of a price break. So you know that if you're enrolling them in the Capital Ready program, you're going to earn $1,250, which is half of the $2,500 refundable deposit. Now, again, to them, it's a refundable deposit. They're going to get it back as long as they complete the process, and there's no chargeback to you. What's my point? You've got $1,250 to play with there. You could do scenario one, offer them a little bit of a discount if they enroll today. And you could decide, is it a $100 discount? I wouldn't do anything less than 100 because I don't think that is meaningful to most people, but you could offer them a $100 discount or $250 discount if they enroll today, special promotion. So you can do that. But another scenario is to not discount the price, but give away a gift card. And Brian is one of the guys, I've seen him do this, and it's crazy. He'll bring gifts, flat screen TVs, PlayStations, gift cards, a $250 Amazon gift card, for example, and that's a perk of enrolling today. And so just discounting the money is okay. Discounting the 2,500 sum is okay. But it seems like if they can take something tangible with them, even a gift card, which I know is not quite tangible, but something that they can use, because maybe they spend the 2,500 out of their business account for the refundable deposit. Of course, that'll come back to them. But if they walk away from that meeting or that session with you with a $250 Amazon gift card, their spouse or significant other doesn't know about it. It's kind of free money that they can go use to buy something that they're interested in. So using a financial incentive to encourage immediate commitment is a best practice as well. Okay, so with that, we're going to get over to your questions, comments, and concerns. All right, so James asked, how long would it take to conduct a proper 4-week Access to Capital workshop? Well, James, the 4-week Access to Capital program is not in person. It is online and self-directed. Instead, James, we have a 1-day Access to Capital workshop, and it's conducted in 1 day, not 4 weeks. So don't confuse the two. If they're going to do it remote learning, virtually, online, it's a 4-week process. If you want to teach it, and we'll send a trainer out, myself or one of the others, and we want to knock it out in 1 day, then it's 1 day, 8 hours. All right, another question. I want to know if it's better to use the 4-week access than the Capital Ready as the lead-in. Well, it's up to you. I think that there's a strong, if all you're trying to do is give them enough information to get an appointment, and then you can go through again the comparisons and watch the YouTube videos and all that. But if what you're trying to do is to get the appointment, I think you're going to have the highest appointment setting rate by pitching that this grant subsidized program offers a guaranteed $100,000 capital raise with no upfront fees, of course, other than the deposit. So it's up to you. I think when you meet with the client, you need to figure out what they're best suited for, and certainly enroll them in whether it be the Capital Ready Package 2.0 or the 4-week. But to get the appointment, I think this has the most sizzle. Okay. Monique, good morning, Monique. Bringing on new branch managers. Yes. So, Monique, you do not have to be a branch manager to be a regional director, and regional directors are paid 3 ways. They're paid $5,000 for each branch they bring on. They're paid an override of the capital raise. It's kind of similar to here. And then if you're an agent, then also you get the override commissions for the key person policy. So to answer your question, well, and to become a regional director, we need to have just 4 branches opened underneath you. And so during that time, yes, you're still paid the $5,000 per branch. And then once you've reached that 4 branches to demonstrate ability, then we'll execute the regional director DocuSign, which didn't cost anything, and then you'll be eligible for the overrides from those first 4 branches as well as future ones. So what we're trying to do is not make it painful to become a regional director. We just, so many people will raise their hand and say, oh yeah, I want to do that because it's free. Very few people deliver. And Monique, you're not one of those, but very few people deliver. And so with that being said, we want to have the demonstrated ability to bring 4 branches on, and then we formalize it. You're still paid for the first 4 branches, the $5,000 a pop. And then if and when you meet the 4 branch requirement, we do the DocuSign, and then that'll retroactively get you the back end money off of those first 4 as well as all future ones. Thank you, Monique, for that. Nanette asked a great question. If I remember, Nanette's in Houston, so that makes it even more complicated because Houston's kind of the hotbed right now. So for the one-day workshop, unfortunately, we need 20 paid attendees to make it financially viable for all of us, because that puts $5,000 in your pocket, Nanette, and then it allows us to pay for the trainer, because we're going to be incurring usually travel cost and labor costs for the trainer. So for the one-day Access to Capital workshop, we need a minimum of 20 attendees. So Nanette's bringing up a point, well, with social distancing, that's not going to work. Well, and that may be. So if in your area that we can't get at least 20 people for the one-day workshop, then we probably need to run them through the online version, which is self-paced. Okay, Sean's asking this question, and I need to get back to that. So Sean, thank you for prompting me. So the Capital Ready program, version 2.0, which is what we're offering, has no upfront cost, which is stated briefly here, other than the refundable deposit, which is $2,500. You keep half of that, Sean, and the other half comes into us. And this is all in writing. It's once they have raised at least $100,000 through the program, then they get the $2,500 refunded, but you do not have to pay back any portion of that $1,250. So hopefully that answered your question, Sean. The refundable deposit is refunded based upon the client raising at least $100,000, because that's the promise, right? There's 2 promises being made. We promise to work with them until they raise at least $100,000, and they promise to work with us to raise at least $100,000. And so once those promises have been met, then the refundable deposit is returned. And it's quite analogous to, Sean, if you and I went to go rent an apartment and we put a deposit down. If we meet the certain terms and conditions, the deposit comes back. But if we leave the place a mess, we trash it, we break the lease, then the deposit is not refundable. And so it's the same way here. But as far as I know, we have a perfect history of refunding the deposit for all clients that have met that threshold. All right, Bruce and Dion, I see you have your hands up. If you want to type those questions in, we'll knock those out. And then we're on the downhill stretch. While they're typing, just to remind you, we will not have Zooms tomorrow on Friday, July 3rd. Office will be closed. Frankly, several of us will be in writing those key person policies because we're a bit backlogged, but that's a blessing, not a complaint. So then we'll regroup on Monday. Bruce, I see you got your hand up. Any other questions that anyone wants to drop into the Q&A box so we can help you with those today? I sent this out to everyone that's in our Post Affiliate Pro, so you'll have this to copy and paste from and or to use. If you don't have the simple sales process that we've referenced, then just email me and I'll get that to you. If you don't have your replicated website yet, and you've done your background check, then something's broken. We just need to get you with Jennifer to get that ordered. We pump those out pretty quickly now. And if you're interested in becoming a regional director, it's very simple. You start feeding in branches. And once you've fed in 4 branches, then we'll execute the DocuSign and formalize that. Any other questions anyone has before we break today? All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you Monday morning. Enjoy your holiday weekend. Bye-bye.